What's your name and badge number?
My name is Officer Shepard with the Lake City Police Department. My badge number is 402.
402.
Okay. Do you have your ID? So I can ID so I can put you in the car. I'm not. Well, can I get your badge? I'm not your badge number. What's your name?
My badge number is 1776.
Can I get your name and date of birth?
No.
No.
No, you're not auditing me. I didn't break the law.
You didn't break the law, but I see you said it right now. ID yourself. On your back of your license, you know what it says on the back of your license?
I know exactly what it says on the back of my license, but I'm not driving, and you didn't see me driving.
But does it say when driving? Does it say when driving?
That is a driver's license.
It is an identification.
It's a driver's license.
It's identification.
Florida statute says I only have to identify if I have broken the law.
Does it say that?
Yes, sir, it does.
Well, do we know what section number that is?
719, I think. Look that up.
719. I'm going to look that up.
Florida's not a stop and ID state. It says if I've broken the law.
Do you know what subsection? Anything like that?
I don't. I can look it up real quick.
Okay. I have to look it up myself just to make sure.
It's 901-151. 706 is the
901.151.
What happens when police officers try to enforce feelings instead of actual law? What happens when citizens know their rights better than the people wearing the badge? In this explosive First Amendment audit, officers repeatedly demand identification without lawful cause, threaten arrest over protected speech, and slowly realize they're dealing with people who refuse to be intimidated. Tonight, we're breaking down every moment, from unlawful ID demands to constitutional confusion, to officers openly struggling to justify their authority on camera. And by the end of this video, one thing becomes painfully clear. The camera may be the most powerful accountability tool ordinary citizens have left.
This is a stop and frisk ID.
Yeah, I ain't gonna stop and frisk you, man. I'm trying to identify you.
901.151.
Yeah, that's right. I just looked at it. That's the one about if you're being lawfully detained and stuff like that. But
yeah, you have to be lawfully detained before I'm ID. I broke the law of not being lawfully detained.
That's stop and frisk. Unless you identify yourself. Whenever any law enforcement officer in the state encounters any person under the circumstances or reason. Yeah, so you're right. You're right.
See?
You're right.
Words mean things, Skipper.
Yes, sir.
You know, you guys are held to the same accountability we are. When you guys break the law, we think we can do it as well as in general.
I understand. All right, sir.
I'll call you back shortly.
Yep. You have a good day, all right? No problem.
Police department.
Huh?
Can you call the police department?
Why are you here?
Had a concern from the business even when you were out there, sir.
Oh yeah? They can't read?
I didn't see it.
No, they can't read? I'm pretty sure they called you because they don't like the freedom of speech.
The encounter begins calmly enough. A Lake City police officer approaches a man standing outside a business and immediately asks for identification. But within seconds, the situation changes completely. Unlike most civilians, this citizen knows exactly what officers can and cannot legally demand. This moment is critical. Under Florida law, police cannot simply demand identification because they feel suspicious or uncomfortable. Officers must first establish lawful detention based on reasonable suspicion of a crime. The citizen immediately cites Florida Statute 901.151, commonly associated with Florida's stop and frisk law. And watch carefully, because the officer clearly isn't prepared for someone who actually understands it.
You have a driver's license or ID with you, sir?
I'm not giving you ID.
Can I get your name and date of birth?
No. Have I committed a crime? Do you have probable cause?
No, sir.
Am I being detained?
What's your sign, sir? Do you mind just asking?
Huh?
Do you mind just asking what your sign says?
It says they screw?
Okay, is that really what it says, or does it say, like, whoa?
Ah, that's an F with a star and a CK.
So
I could actually publish that on the TV.
We'll talk to you. Okay, listen. I get the call, okay, with the sign. I get that you're upset, you're frustrated with that. All right, if you want your cameras directly on me, that's fine. But I do like talking eye to eye, if you're good with it, okay? So have you tried to talk to them and settle the whole issue?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
I made it all the way to the CEO.
Okay, so this is the thing. All right. We get a call, we get a complaint. You're holding a sign that does have vulgar language.
No, it doesn't.
Listen. Let me talk.
It doesn't. I've held this sign in 2 states and 3 counties.
Listen.
So now
you know what it means, right? We know what it means.
That does not matter. Vulgarity is a legal term.
Listen, I'm not here to...
It's a representation of vulgarity, kind of like, on TV when they go beep. No.
Notice the hesitation, the guessing, the uncertainty. The officer attempts to assert authority first, then figure out the legal justification afterward. That reversal is exactly what many constitutional activists argue has become a nationwide problem. Then something unusual happens. Instead of escalating the encounter, the officer backs down. Why? Because the citizen stayed calm, stayed informed, and forced the conversation back to the law itself.
The consensual conversation?
If we get further calls, okay, because now we know what your sign says, and it causes a disturbance, that actually is illegal.
No, it's not.
We're being nice and I don't care whether you disagree or not.
You can't convert my freedom of speech.
Okay, F. Okay, yeah. And it offends people, especially like if there's families. These are all examples. If
there's kids in the car, I close the sign.
But you can't see.
Yeah, I can.
You know you can't see.
Uh-huh. Okay? I can.
Right. How many people were in that car that just passed you?
I wasn't paying attention. You were distracting me.
And when we pulled up to you, you focused on us, and you weren't focused on the other cars. You're not focused on these cars passing you. You're not focused on these cars next to you.
That's because you're distracting me.
Right. When we pulled up to you. Okay.
No. There was a car right there with 2 people in it, and I was pointing to the fact that you guys are here, and they called you specifically to violate my right of freedom of speech. Yes, they did.
Freedom of speech until you offend somebody.
No.
Yes.
No, sir.
Yes.
No, sir.
Okay.
I did not. There's no vulgarity. No.
Watch the language. Okay?
Well, you can go fuck yourself.
Okay.
Okay. So, there you go. See, that's the freedom of speech.
So we're going to talk to them. If you step on the property,
I have not touched their property line.
If you step on the property, we'll talk to them. And if they want you to go to jail, you'll go to jail.
Well, you'd have to trespass me first and then give me notification.
Right.
Which is going to be harassment since I never touched their property line.
That phrase, words mean things, becomes the theme of this entire encounter. Because constitutional rights are not based on emotions. They're based on precise legal standards. And once officers realize intimidation isn't working, the power dynamic begins to shift dramatically. First Amendment auditors, sometimes called constitutional activists, have exploded across YouTube over the last decade. Channels dedicated to recording police interactions routinely generate millions of views by testing public officials' understanding of constitutional law. Supporters argue these audits expose government overreach and educate the public about civil liberties. Critics, however, accuse some auditors of intentionally provoking confrontations for clicks and ad revenue.
Go ahead, you go talk to him, big guy.
All right, no problem.
And what's your badge number?
283.
283. What's your badge number? Yeah. So, are you under oath here today? Did you? No.
As long as
you didn't take an oath.
Okay.
No. That when you take an oath,
no,
you can go fuck yourself.
No problem.
You're an asshole.
Okay. You have a good day, sir.
Yeah. Goodbye, asshole.
Hello. How you doing, sir?
What's up, Holmes?
What's going on?
What's up, Holmes?
What's your name?
What's up, Holmes?
Do you have any ID?
What's up, Holmes?
Well, is that how you're gonna just go with it then?
What's up, Holmes? What you want, Holmes? What do you want, Holmes?
Huh? I was trying to talk to you.
Go away.
You just want to say...
Go away.
No, at this point I got a call about you.
I don't care what you got. Go away, man.
What are you doing? Do you have any ID on you?
Go away.
No, I'm not gonna go away.
But the real controversy begins when officers respond to complaints about a protest sign. Not violence. Not threats. Not trespassing. This is where the encounter enters dangerous constitutional territory. The officers repeatedly argue the sign is vulgar. But offensiveness alone is not illegal speech in the United States. The Supreme Court has repeatedly ruled that the First Amendment exists specifically to protect unpopular speech. Popular speech never needed protection in the first place.
Go away, piggy. Go away, piggy. Go away, piggy.
Let me see your ID.
Hell no, I ain't showing you shit. You wish you could, huh, Gonzalez? Look at you.
Just waiting. I got all the time in the world.
Go ahead. Sit your ass down. Have a seat, Gonzalez. Have a seat. Go ahead and lean against my vehicle right there. Go ahead and lean against my vehicle right there, man. You got permission. You got my permission. Go away, piggy. Go away, piggy. I told you, you ain't gonna get shit, boy. Learn the law, bitch. Learn the law, bitch.
This debate goes back decades. In the landmark 1971 Supreme Court case Cohen versus California, the court ruled that even profanity on a jacket in public was constitutionally protected expression. The famous phrase, "Fuck the draft." That case permanently established that government officials cannot suppress speech simply because it offends people. As the confrontation continues, professionalism begins to crack. Officers become visibly frustrated. Insults start flying. And the entire interaction spirals away from lawful procedure into emotional confrontation.